Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and today I was going to kind of give my first impressions on Ash's Echoes. I've played it a little bit more after my stream back on Friday, and so far I'm liking everything. It is definitely feeling like a really good game. Big thing is graphics. They're very good for what it is on a gacha game. It's nothing too crazy, but it is looks pretty good in all the units. And when you kind of look at the units as well, even it's not just the SSRs that have like the unique mechanics, but you also have like the epic 5 stars. They all look really good as well, and I'll like to be able to use them as well in the beginning of the game. But even when you get down to the 4 stars or the lower rating ones, I mean, a lot of these have some pretty unique designs as well. All of them are looking fairly good, and there's been a lot of effort in them, and it looks like they will most likely get a lot of use, especially in the beginning. I'll just kind of have to see how it works out once you get to the end game with them, but they all have their unique elements to them in that. So overall, that's pretty good. And when it came to the story was is passable in terms of a story, kind of your standard gacha story where your MC has kind of lost his memory. Now, I skipped a lot of it from the beginning just because I wanted to get to the gacha systems and the gameplay, but I did get a kind of brief glimpse at different parts of it here and there through the story, and it looks like it's passable for a gacha game. Nothing too crazy, nothing extraordinary, but I mean, it may get better as the time goes on. We'll kind of see where it goes from there. So with that, though, story is not everything to me, but when it really comes to whether I want to play a gacha game or not, I'm really looking towards the gameplay. And so my first impressions overall with this game is that it has actually a pretty good gameplay mechanics. It's quite unique that I haven't really seen in another gacha. Now, I haven't played that many, I'm guessing there's been systems similar to it in the past, but it has that mix of an RTS and the tactics type games, and then as well as tower defense, and it feels quite good in how it works. And we'll kind of take a look at it here. Just in a simple match here on a fight. And the one thing I like is the simplicity of the skills. It kind of gives me that feeling of HSR where, yeah, there's really you only have your skill, your ultimate, and your basic attack. But even though it's that simplistic, there's a lot of, I don't know if I'd say complexity, but ways that you can apply it with all the different units you can have in a match. So when you look at this, so you basically set yourself up on a grip. You have the tower here that you have to defend. You have your different units that you've pulled that you can put out on the map. They can pretty much go anywhere within here. Now, when it comes to that real-time strategy, you are able to move them around the field as the match is going on. So as soon as it starts, it moves in real time. But as soon as you have a skill available, which you can see down here, it does slow down time quite dramatically to give you the time to think. So when you select it, things are going on in the background, but it's so slow that you're not going to have to worry about missing anything when you're doing that. And so basically your goal overall is just kind of defend this tower here, and there is an auto where they'll kind of do the movements for you. And what I like with the gameplay is the auto feels fairly good, and then you can just interject where needed. So you let the auto do a lot of the work, and then as you see a situation arise that the auto is not going to take care of, like it is here, then you can just interject like this and then pick, oh, it hasn't used the buff, but I want to get this buff out there, so I'll go ahead and use it. But then, like I've seen with others, it does have that RTS kind of feel to it because you can reposition them. If I want to move this person out here, I can move them anywhere within this grid, and then they'll go up there and start using their attacks from there. Now, it does put their skills on cooldown when you're doing that, so it's not a true RTS where you can constantly moving them around like that. But it feels really good in that. And then there is the element system within the game that works kind of like a Genshin that I'm liking. So I've already seen, like on some of the maps, where it has water on the ground, or you can have your unit put out water on the ground, and then like have an electric unit interact with that water unit to electrify all the units in the area. And so it's I can see there's going to be a lot of complexity when it comes to that in the end game. So it's simple in the fact that the characters are fairly limited in all the things that you can do with them. They have their unique kit, and that's what you use. But there's a lot of ways that you can put the teams together to kind of come up with different combos. And then the big thing is on the autos, they feel really good, or the ultimates, they feel really good in it over here on the right. And when it comes to the 5 stars, these are like the most, like the highly in-depth abilities. And so when you're using it, you can kind of move around and select where you want to use it. It highlights the enemies that it's going to hit. And then they all have unique ultimates. But the 5 stars have really long played, cool looking ultimates. They do take quite a bit of time, but you do have the ability to skip these ultimates if you want. and it has the options in the menu to auto skip so you don't have to see it and complete every time. Because I can see this becoming an issue, especially once you start using full SSR teams down the line, where the ultimate just takes a long time. So you can actually turn it off so that you don't have a extremely long system there. And then you just saw 4 stars right there come off, and they're fairly quick and not as intrusive. Now this was just a simple match, this isn't like a boss or anything, so it kind of gave you that feel of it. But I've noticed that it's not easy completely, just going for everything at it and you're going to win. I mean, and in the beginning it's like that, but I can see as towards end game it's going to take some strategy and it's not going to be too easy. So you will have that difficulty from what I can tell so far. But it's not too hard going through the story, so I'm expecting it to be similar to a lot of other gachas where the story is pretty much beatable with whatever you got, so you don't have to worry about getting all the SSRs if you want to just experience the story. And then when it comes to the end game, the hardest content, that's where you're going to really want to look at your SSRs. But going into the characters, the other big component of any gacha game is their gacha system and how well it plays for free-to-plays, low spenders, and then you got your whales and all that, and all the in-betweens. So the gacha system seems fairly typical to a lot of the other games. It has two main things that you're going to be pulling for that I've seen. The main one will be your units, which are called Echomancers in this game. So you have different currencies up here for it, and then you have the other one, which is the memory traces that kind of act like your unique weapons for the units. Now it is a little bit different than how other games handle weapons, in that it's not really attached to the unit where you don't equip the unit with them, but instead you're equipping your team as a whole. So if we actually go back in here and we'll go back into setting up a team, you can kind of see where you do that. So you put out your units, you have your main units that you put in the field, your backup units that you can swap in and out. So to get a full team, you actually need 8 units to do that. But then when it comes to the memory traces, they're attached to your leader per se. And so that your main character, your MC, is your starting leader. And so when you go to adjust them, you go into their traces. These are the memory traces that you're pulling for. And they're assigned, you have 1 trace per stat. So you have like a defensive 1, attack 1, vitality 1. Don't remember what tier M's for. But then you have your mastery 1. And then they have unique things attached to them. You could say that there's going to be like character equivalent ones. Like you might have a defensive character that want to make best use of them. They're going to want the trace that applies specifically to their most useful benefits. But it is a little bit different in the aspect that you don't equip the character, you're equipping a team with the memory traces. And then when we actually take a look at the rates on the details here, I do find they're a little bit better than Hoyoverse games, where they have the probability with pulling them on any single pull at 1.2%. So it's like better than the 0.6% you'll see with like Hoyoverse and some other games. It's not as good as, say, Sword of Convallaria, which I know most of my audience is Sword of Convallaria players, in that we're used to that 2%, so you're actually pulling SSRs fairly decently. 1.2's kind of got similar odds in that aspect, that you should be pulling them fairly frequently in comparison to, say, something like a Hoyoverse where you're going to the pity very often. But the other thing is, even though it has a 1.2%, it has a 2.2% overall average pull rate, which means you should pull them about every 45-ish pulls if you count and take into account their pity system. And they actually have a fairly generous pity system compared to a lot of the other games, which is it goes to 60. So you are guaranteed to get a legendary after 60 pulls. And when I've looked at the 50-50 mechanic that it has, I believe it's the typical Hoyoverse one, where if you don't get the one that you're targeting, then you will get one of the standards. And right now, because I'm in the test realm and the game isn't released, I believe there will be a debut banner with a very specific unit. Right now, all that's available to me is the standard banner with the standard units. So I'm expecting it to be quite similar to that, where if you don't get the 50-50 the first time, you will get them the second time, meaning you're going to need 120 pulls to guarantee a Echomancer. Now, when it comes to the memory traces, it's quite similar to that, except at least this is the standard. I don't know if there will be like the debut ones or they'll work similar to the Echomancer specific ones. But when it comes to this one, which is kind of the standard banner, you basically choose which memory trace that you want to target. So it has all the memory traces listed here. And so you find the trace that you want. So say I want Skyfall here. I will choose Skyfall. It will be the one that I am targeting. And then when you read the details on it, these have a 2%, which is basically the same thing as Sword of Convallaria's rate. But they have a pity that makes it where it's a 3.37% rate that you should on average get them. So when you actually look at the details on it, it's after 40 you are guaranteed to get one. So if you don't get one within 40, you will get one for sure. Now it has the typical 50-50%. The one you're targeting, if it does not drop that, like you have 50% chance to get the one that you're targeting. If not, you will get one of the other random ones. And then after that, the second one will be guaranteed to be the one that you're targeting. So it's a little unique in that you pick the one you want to go for. So it's a little bit better than, say, Sword of Convallaria, where you're just pulling blindly into the weapon banner, trying. You can't really target specific weapons. While this one, you can specifically target the one you want. And with a 40 pull pity, it means it's only going to take 80 to guarantee a specific one that you want. And then what I've noticed that you don't see in some games is it has two different currencies here. So you have this currency here, the backflash, which is the ones for the memory traces, and then Echomancers have their own. So when it comes, you should be getting some of these throughout the game as you're playing, so you will actually be able to go for the memory traces. They're going to have their own specific currency. Now you can also get some more of it with the premium currency that you'll earn that you can convert to either weapon or Echomancer ones. But overall, there will be events in that I can see where you will get a bunch of these currencies. So you will eventually get SSR weapons, and you don't have to think about just completely skipping them overall. And then kind of talking about the pulls here, the other big thing that you're going to see is, so there are some events that it looks like that you get as a new player or starting right off the bat. The first big one that I seen was this one, which is the Setting Sail New Director's Gift. It looks to be a 33, I think it was 33 or 34 day when it was started here. And so as long as you log in daily, you'll be accumulating these rewards throughout the month. And so as you notice here, these ones are the pulls for the Echomancers, and these ones are the ones for the weapons. And so you're getting 10 here, 10 here. And so when you kind of go down the list, there's actually quite a few pulls you're going to get within your first 30 days. I mean, if you count it out, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're going to get 100 pulls just from this for the Echomancers. And then when it comes to traces, I think it's exactly the same because it's one after another. So you have 10 of those. So you're guaranteed to get at least 2 of the memory traces. So you will get one of them that you want. And with 100 pulls, you're going to be just below enough to guarantee a specific unit that you want, since you're going to need 120 to guarantee. But that's just 100 pulls there. There's also another monthly calendar where you're getting some currencies. And then you have a sign-in one up here that kind of gives you a little bit of currency. You have 2 of the memory trace pulls. So it does look like they are kind of throwing a lot of pulls at you in the beginning, a lot more than I've seen with other games, because that's just the login stuff. You are getting a lot of pulls as well from doing the story. And I'm going to guess there's also going to be events that come up as well where you're getting pulls. So when it comes to my overall thoughts in the game, I think it's actually quite fun. It definitely will be one that I'll be adding to my list of gotchas that I will be playing. There's actually quite a few coming out that I'll be playing around the same time, so we're going to see how that works out there. But right now, this is going to be one of the main ones I'll have in my list of games I'm currently playing. Because right now, I just maxed out my Sword of Convallaria account at level 60, so it's kind of just now on the daily grind with that one. So this will be one of those main ones where I'm pushing the story to try and push myself to the end game as soon as possible. Now, like most gotchas, I find the game does feel extremely overwhelming right off the bat. The biggest thing is because there's so many different currencies being thrown at you that you just like, what is this for? Like when you look at the inventory here, you have all this stuff. I'm like, I have no clue what half the stuff is. Now, you learn just like any other gotchas, a lot of it can be equated to something else in another games. Like these ones right here, I know are my icons for dupes. So these are the ones that I use to upgrade my units from getting duplicates of them in the pull system. And then you come over here, you have some like these other ones. It's like the gift cards. These are ones that like I'm accumulating as I'm doing pulls. and these are used to go into that the shop where you can like buy more pulls or buy other little premium things with the pull currency. Then you have your pull currencies here. They do have some that are limited. So these are pulls for the memory traces, and so they require you to use them within a limited amount of time. I've noticed that these are coming more from like these event specific ones. So like this 30-day one, all of these are time limited. So you have a month and a half to use these pulls. And I guess it's just because they want you to get your account going with these ones. They don't want you to just hoard them and save up for another premium unit coming out down the line. They want you to use them all right off the bat to get your count. So you can kind of say it's a bad/good thing. Yeah, they're giving you a lot of pulls where like you have to use them within the next month and a half. So you have to either go over a standard unit or you go over whoever the debut banners are within those first couple. So it's got its pluses and minuses on getting all of those pulls right off the bat. But yeah, a lot of stuff is overwhelming in the beginning. It's just because of all the names that they're throwing at you. But as I've been playing it and kind of looking at the items a little bit more, I just say, oh, this is basically this is what the equivalent of a relic in Genshin or HSR, or this is equivalent of this in Sword of Convallaria, because they all use the same mechanics, the same systems. So as you can kind of equate it with other games, you'll start to learn what everything is. And so I expect to kind of get through that with this game, and then I plan to make videos on like a mini beginner guides on all the items and stuff as leading up to the game, so I can kind of explain which each item is as I kind of figure out what it is. The cash shop in this game does not feel as intrusive as some of the others are. In the beginning, I think it took me over a second to even find it. I think it's this one right here. The Meow Stars is the shop. And when you kind of look at the pricing in it, it's got your typical gotcha pricing. I was actually surprised. I don't know if it's just this test account or not, but I do not see a $99 pack, and a lot of them have that. And it does look like it has your typical stuff that you have it when you first time buying it. You can kind of look at it. It usually has like bonuses attached to them first time, which it looks to have on that. It has your typical monthly pass that's $5. That'll give you premium currency, and then over time will give you some of the other daily sign-in bonuses, which to me, when it comes to gotchas, this is almost, even if you're going to be like, this is to me the typical, you want to buy this if this is going to be one of your main gotchas you're playing. Just because it's a way to support the game, it's not really expensive, and it generally gives you a really good bang for your buck within the game. So at least it has that, and I mean, it has the standard battle pass, I believe. Let's see. It may not be currently available because I'm in the test realm, but I believe I've seen that there is a battle pass as well. Then you have the one where you can convert the currency you're going to earn in game for pulls. And then you have the premium currency, which you can convert to that. One thing that you'll find is they actually have a different conversion rate in this game, so I'm going to have to kind of do the math to kind of see. But when it comes to the in-game currency, whenever these are called the X particles, it's actually 300 for a pull versus like 150 that you see in Sword of Convallaria. So you got to basically double everything. Now you're getting basically double everything in when you're doing stuff, so it's kind of it's probably going to be a very similar conversion rate to other games. It's just the numbers are going to be double. And then you like have the shop where you have these monthly 5 that you're going to want to get every month, which you buy with those credits you get from pulling. So you'll just want to make sure that, and there's a weapon one and a Echomancer one, so you're going to be able to get weapons and stuff over time as you use them. And then if you need any of the materials, you can buy them as well. And these are basically all the equivalent materials for the different classes they have in the game, which I'll go over more in depth in a beginner guide on that. But yeah, it has kind of all your typical stuff. I don't actually know how furniture is used in this game yet. I haven't gotten to or used that. But it does have cosmetic stuff in here, as well as some other little things. I have not actually gotten into any of that stuff in the game yet. When it comes to these gotchas, I don't care too much about like the non-gameplay level stuff. I know some people like that, so it has that in this game, if that's your style. But yeah, that's just kind of my first impressions on it, and if you just kind of wait, I'm going to actually start going over the different mechanics within the game within future videos, as well as eventually going into every single one of the SSRs and their kits, and kind of try and make a tier list of what I think will be the highest priority one to target for polling. But yeah, definitely looks like a great game, and I can't wait to play it when it actually releases, and I can actually build up my account versus using just the test server one. Thanks for watching.